I then also currently have access, and this is the first time in my life I have access to something like this, a 24-hour gym. For most of my youth, I trained at home. But of course, at home, there are neighbors, which sometimes are directly next doors, or sometimes are only the house neighbors. But I could not train ever till now in the morning, let's say. What if I want to do a strength training in the morning? When attempting to study in Munich, I would need to initially, before I then moved to Munich, to either train in the morning or in the evening, which basically was either at 5 in the morning, where I could not train, or in the evening when I came back home, which was like 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock, at which point I obviously already needed to sleep. So basically, it was an impossible task. I would have needed to quit working out, which then obviously is ridiculous, because there is no life without working out. Of course, you can draw from your resources for a couple of days, weeks, and months, until the body's function after days and weeks, already due to the different cortisol release patterns, already begins to suffer so much that beginning to work out again becomes marginally futile. It was an impossible task, which when studying, actually, I never could solve. I did kind of solve it when driving with the bike into university, because this was a cardiovascular event sufficient in impact to basically kick myself into the first gear in the morning. And because I then also usually ate before, I used basically cycling to university in between 7, 8, 10 kilometers as my first cardio of the day. So basically I stopped doing cardio when going to university. I stopped running, I stopped swimming. There was not really a possibility apart from running. I did run a little bit. I often would basically, after my last meal of the day, retrospectively, to reduce the metabolic stress of the food and to therefore speed up the time at which I could fall asleep after the last meal by going into a small river, and usually I ran there. So this was a little bit of running, possibly still maybe a couple of kilometers a week. But if the infrastructure is not there, it is just very, very time ineffective to work out. There was no swimming pool which was close by. Maybe there was a swimming pool on the way back to now. So I basically still am a member in a gym that is a little bit better equipped compared to the 24-hour gym, which does not allow me much to progress. Machine training is an integral part. The movement pattern is standardized, and this standardization seems to allow me to increase progressively. It's so ridiculous, because you're trying with free weights and barbells to get some progress, and then you do the same machine again and again, and you just progress. And e-gym machines are even, I think, better at this, because they don't allow you to not give your best. I would need something like an e-gym machine just for cardio. To a certain extent, this exists. It's called social pressure. So if I go to the swimming pool, then of course, the faster I swim, the better it is. And also if I go running and you know a few people, you meet a few people, then there is the same incentive. Run as fast as you can. And of course, if you go to the gym, the incentive is to lift as much as you can. But if you train alone, but this only works under a certain